Hello, Reese. Hello, Mackenzie. Hello, Mason. Hello, Maggie. It's time for gardening with Grandpa. So let's get our gloves on. Hello, Reese. Hello, Mackenzie. Hello, Mason. Hello, Maggie. Today we're going to do some gardening with Grandpa. But look, why am I looking into the refrigerator? Because today we're going to make food for our plants. Now inside the refrigerator, these are people foods, but we can make some ingredients together that will feed our plants. Let's take a look how we do it. Over here is some of the things that we're going to be putting together, the ingredients for what is called composting, and then the composting or the cooking of these different ingredients then can be put onto the ground and in the ground so the plants through their roots can get all the good things that are left over in this into their bodies, and then they'll give their leaves to us to eat so we can have those good things put back into our bodies. So basically, plants like people leftovers. Not all people leftovers, but a lot of the different kinds of people leftovers. One of the things that they like is some leftover fruits and vegetables. Here I've got some leftover spinach that I can put in there to their ingredients. Here are some eggs and eggshells. That's really good for them. The eggshells has a mineral called calcium. But the thing is that eggs, if they're left out, like Grandpa shows right here, and they've got some leftover egg inside them, well, they could carry a germ called salmonella. And if that gets into our bodies, it can make us sick. Well, you probably know already that there's a germ outside that's kind of making us all stay inside because we can't get rid of that germ. So we'll wait it out till it goes away. With my eggs, I can cook them out. I can get those germs out of there, and that's because I put them in the microwave. Yeah, we could call this video Cooking for Plants. So I've taken these eggs and I have cooked them. I have microwaved them so that salmonella that could form on them won't form on them, and I'll use that as part of my ingredients for the compost, for the plant feed. Now inside each one of these things, containers, I have different kinds of leftover foods, and leftover foods would be stuff that we're throwing away. So instead of throwing them away, I put them in these jars, and then me and Nanny take these jars and we mix all these ingredients together to make plant food. Let me show you how you do that. So we talked a little bit about the ingredients, so now we're talking about how to put them all together. And so we're downstairs in Grandpa's workshop, and he's going to show you the container that I'm going to put all my ingredients in to use to mix them up. A little bit different than human food. Here's a big old bucket. You see this bucket? Well, I could take all those ingredients and I can shove them all in there and let it just all happen. But there's a better way. Grandpa did is that he took one of these buckets. Let's take the lid off. The lid is important because this is outside. Sometimes animals and squirrels will say, hey, let's get in there. And they'd get in there and they could tip it over and spill all of our good compost out. So you got to have a lid on there to do that. But if you put a lid on there, like this one, then you can't let one of the important ingredients in, which is air. Air helps break everything down so that we can be used into our plant food. So what Grandpa did is that he took one of the buckets and he drilled holes into the side of the bucket so the air can get in to our plant feed. And to do that, Grandpa used his power tool. You've seen this before. And he used a special drill bit called a paddle drill. And this one has a measurement on it. This one is 3/4, 3, 4, 3/4. And that's a measurement from this end to this end. And this is called in inches. So this is 3/4 of 1 inch. And I put it into my chuck and I take it to my bucket and I drill very carefully and safely into the bucket to put these holes in it, or you call them air holes. So now we've got air holes in there. We got a bucket that we can put our compost in, and that's all a good thing, and we could stop right there. Except Grandpa's thinking that one of the things that will happen is since we're working on a smaller scale and we don't have room to make a big compost pile, that when that compost ingredients are all in here and start to disintegrate, I can pour water over them. And as the water goes through, the water will pick up the nutrients and the good stuff that's good for our plants. And I put holes in the bottom so that the water can come out there. And I use this drill bit. And this drill bit is called 3/16. And I used that drill bit in my my drill, and I made those holes. So you might now be thinking, but Grandpa, if you pour water into there, I get that. You got holes for air to get in. I get that. If you put holes in the bottom of the bucket, the water's just going to drip out. That's why I got a second bucket. I'll take this bucket and put it into here together, and I'll put the lid on it, and all my ingredients in here will cook or compost. I'll pour water over all that. It will drip through all the good nutrients inside this compost, and it will drip out into this bottom bucket, and I'll take this bottom bucket out to water the plants with, because the water will have all the good nutrients. There you go. So now it's time to mix our ingredients. Well, Grandpa and Nanny have already started a compost pile, because at this time of year you need to keep working on this, because once it gets warm outside, you're going to need to have your compost ready. So we're planning ahead of time. We know it's going to come, so we're doing something now so it'll be ready in the future. And so Grandpa and Nanny have already started. We've already got all kinds of ingredients in there. And I've got this stick. And what I do is that I mix the stuff around on the inside using my stick. And that's very important, because garbage can stink. And if it's done improperly, your garbage will smell bad. We don't want that to happen. So every now and again, Grandpa will go ahead and stir up his compost. Well, let's start putting in our ingredients. First off, I'm just going to show you that inside this bucket here is coffee greens and leftover lettuce and apples and different green things like that. So I'm just going to pour that right in there right now. Part of this recipe means these are good ingredients, but there's a special order that they have to go in. They go in different layers. They go in at different stages. So this one now I'm going to put over here. And the next stage I'm going to do is I've got pieces of paper. This is just newspapers that I've wetted. And so now they're kind of smaller, because everything about composting is trying to make big things smaller. And that smaller things can get into the water that we pour through. And that water can go on to the plants. And then the next thing is that we've got our cooked eggshells. Again, the calcium is real good. We could just dump those in there like that if we want, but everything's better if it's smaller. So I'm going to take my rubber mallet. See, it's not made of metal, it's made of actual rubber, so you can hit softer things without breaking it up. And what could be softer than an eggshell? So I'm going to crush these eggs. I'm going to make them into smaller pieces. Spin it around, crush it down. I wish you guys were here to do this. This is fun. Crush that all down. All right. My eggs are crushed down to smaller pieces. So next, this is going to be my next layer of stuff. So I'm going to spread out, not all of them, but a lot of them. And I've got our eggshells in there. Next is brown. Brown. The paper is considered brown. The vegetables is considered green. This recipe says we should have 3 browns to every 1 green. So right now I've got 2 browns and I've got 1 green. So I'm going to add these leaves to make the 3rd brown. And I'm going to put it right on top, layer it right on top. I'm going to put that all in there. These are leftover leaves from last year. I saved them. And see how they're already decaying? That's a good thing because there are little nutrients that are in there, and that's going to be getting into our compost. So I'm going to put that all in there. So we've got that all going. And because this layer is in here and it's brand new, I'm just going to let it sit for a little bit. But tomorrow I'm going to come and use this stick to mix it all up. I'm going to put this lid on the top. Now it isn't going to go outside because it's too cold, but we do need warmth to look after that. And to do that then, what Grandpa does is that he puts it near his furnace. And the furnace is warm. Now I don't put it too close to the furnace, but I can put it close enough so that it'll get warm. And that'll continue the composting. And then when the sun starts to come out, I'll put this outside. And soon we'll have food for our plants. Sure nice spending time with you. Listen to your parents. Do your schoolwork. Study your science. Look after gardening. Look after each other. We love you. Bye.